Hello, this is Rumer, and today I thought I would talk about crystals, as well as the cards. I won't be neglecting those lovelies, but before I got into collecting tarot decks, I was into collecting crystals, and not just collecting them, using them. I started learning a lot more about crystal healing, and I don't pretend to be a crystal healer or know the extensive ins and outs of it all, but it's something that I definitely have subscribed to for many years now. Primarily, my interaction with crystals is through meditation. Just if ever I am meditating, grabbing one that feels intuitively right, that possesses the energies and healing properties that I'm looking for at that particular time. I also love to pop the smaller ones into the pouches with my tarot and oracle cards if it can help lend them some of that energy as well. And yes, I just really enjoy interacting with them. I feel like just even having them around as decoration, they are lending to the vibration of a space, and it is a way that you could really enhance that, especially if it's a space that's sacred to you. If you're wanting to carve out that sacred space for an altar space, for a tarot reading table, what have you. I've got mine scattered all throughout the house for all different sorts of purposes, but it does also help that they're sure pretty to look at. So that's always a point in their favor as well. In any case, what this video is specifically about are the crystal conversations that I've taken to having with my little friends here as a way of getting to know them better. And this is a practice that, of course, can evolve much further than what I'm going to demonstrate here. But for my purposes here, I thought it would just be fun to do a little meet and greet session with a crystal of my choosing, just one, but of this category, which today is Smoky Quartz. Now, when I first started getting into crystals, I immediately found the Smoky Quartz to be a big favorite of mine, and I don't know why that is. I do like the color brown. I love the earthiness of that, and perhaps it just simply is the healing properties that it possesses. I always associate a smoky quartz with grounding. It's related to the root chakra, and there is a sort of cleansing that occurs with it. It can take on perhaps some of the lower energies, lower vibrations, negative feelings that we have, and transmute it into something more positive. It carries the high vibration of quartz because it is quartz. It has been made smoky, this deeper brown, through the process of radiation. So similar to citrine, you can find a lot of artificially treated smoky quartz out there. So just like you can find heat treated amethyst, which turns the amethyst yellow, and then it is sold as citrine, versus the natural citrine, which is actually a far more muted color. I wouldn't exactly describe it as yellow, but I won't get ahead of myself because citrine will be a future category that I share with you in my next installment of Crystal Convos. But in the meantime, smoky quartz, you can also find a lot that was manually treated in that same way to create that. I don't have an expert eye to necessarily be able to gauge that myself. I do believe, though, that it tends to be a very, very deep, almost black, almost opaque darkness when it is artificially treated versus natural. So I'd like to think that the majority of what I own, or can we ever really own a crystal? I shouldn't use that word. I feel like I'm just allowed to hang out with them rather than own them. But I like to think that the majority in my collection are naturally smoky. Again, it's just hard to know. This one I've always held as a question mark because it is rather deep, but that of course could happen naturally from the Earth's own radiation. So this is a crystal cluster that I picked up in a rock shop in Wisconsin. This fella that I was holding, this is Sid. I think I've introduced him before, and he is just a little love. I really adore him, and I found him from a shop on Etsy, and he just brings me such comfort and calm. I really love Sid here. I had also gotten this ball from a seller through Etsy, a shop based in Wales, and I will forever associate this ball with the lovely shop owner who not only just was such a lovely person to interact with as I was making the purchase. It was 2020. I ordered this during lockdown, and in my communications with the seller, who was just incredibly friendly, so we got into a back and forth, and I had mentioned how I enjoyed seeing the photos that she shared displaying the crystals, but with a beautiful natural backdrop. So I must have expressed my delight with that, being that I, at the time, was living in a flat in central London, and I didn't really have any outdoor space, which was really, really difficult during lockdown. It really made me feel claustrophobic and cooped up. And this seller proceeded to send me photos of the Welsh landscape over the course of the next days, weeks, and I just am so grateful to her. I will find that shop link and link it below in the description if I can hopefully remember, because it was just, we all know what COVID lockdown felt like, and I just couldn't believe the kindness of strangers in a case like that. She just wanted to give me that mental escape, even if I couldn't actually escape myself, because those in the US may not know that here in the UK, and I'm sure other countries, we actually for a time were not allowed to leave town. So all hospitality was closed. There were no hotels or Airbnbs to escape to in the country. We weren't even supposed to drive outside to another town. So that's how strict things got over here, and just really added to that feeling of being locked in and cooped up. And so it was just really wonderful for someone to send me that piece of the countryside that I could enjoy from the center of the city. It's a very, very special ball. I just felt like it was coming to me with a wonderful energy as a result. And I can remember when I first unpackaged it, holding it to the light. Let's see if you can appreciate some of the fractures and clouds that are going on in there. But immediately I saw a swan. And now I don't have a gift for scrying. I have always tried to do it. I'm never able to do it successfully. So I saw something like physically. It was, maybe just the way it caught the light. Like looking at cloud formations. I saw the form of a swan. I've never been able to find that again, but it was just such a beautiful introduction to this crystal when I first received it. But okay, moving on from that. This one I know I got from an Etsy seller as well that was based in California. I don't believe that shop is open still, which is a shame because I acquired a lot of crystals, the biggest ones in my collection from that shop, and felt like it was coming from this wonderful California sunshine. Now this one, I don't know if I'm going to be able to capture it here. I've got the ring light I'll turn on. We can give that a try. Yeah, I'm sorry. I really can't promise that I can get this captured on camera, but this Smoky quartz point actually contains some flecks of gold rudel. Looks like golden needles inside. And it's just gorgeous, the translucency of the stone. It just makes me think of a glass of ice cold cola. Maybe spiked with some Goldschlager to explain the gold rudel that's in there, but yuck, no, I wouldn't drink that. But anyway, I'm just going to turn this ring light off for now. So that adds an extra component, of course, whatever properties there are for rutilated quartz could be added to the smoky properties, and boosting it up was a little baby smoky quartz point that also has gold rudel in it. This can stand on its own. It's just not very well on this table for some reason, but this is a point that I probably got through another Etsy seller, and once again, I'm going to struggle to find the cool feature within it, but I'm not sure if you can see. This is a phantom quartz, so it actually has, I guess you could say, like, the outlines of the points as a crystal grows. Each stage of its growth, it might leave a visible trace. I don't know if there's like sediment inside that causes that. I forget, but you can see the sort of like gradations as it's forming and growing taller and taller, and it can capture some of that shadow inside, or as they refer to it, the phantom. But anyways, I'm so sorry if that's not showing here, but Google phantom quartz. It's really cool looking. It's a little mushroom that I have that I keep in my box of Forest and Fae from my What's in the Box series that I shared, where I have decks of Fae and woodland creatures in the woods themselves. Here is a palm stone. These are always so nice to have for meditating, obviously. They're very polished and smooth and feel nice in the hand. I find raw stones feel very nice in the hand as well. I do probably, if I had to choose, prefer a raw stone, but hey, I appreciate a polished one too. And it's, like I said, especially something like this that just makes it very easy to hold and kind of transport around. But yeah, again, when I'm just looking for that grounding energy, here is my most recent smoky quartz purchase. I bought this in Chamonix in France, and it was just interesting. This was mined in the Mont Blanc region, and it's an example of like a nubby, grubby, natural specimen. And I love it so much. And out of a selection of locally mined stones at a shop that I went to in downtown Chamonix, I was drawn to this one. And then when I saw that its little price tag, it was the number that has been stalking me for the past year or so. So those of you that are into numerology, angel numbers, I've got one that I see everywhere. And so this one is just very memorable to me, not only for the beautiful place where I bought it, but the fact that its price tag happened to be my, I guess you could call it an angel number. I'm still working on learning the significance of that and why it keeps repeating in my life. But yes, and then this is a representative of several little tumbled stones that I have for use in crystal grids. And, I almost forgot. This is a very, very pale, smoky Lemurian quartz. So this is kind of a crossover. And I wasn't sure where exactly to draw the line, because I've got other smoky stones. You can have a smoky citrine. You can have a smoky amethyst. You could probably have a smoky anything. This, for example, is a smoky amethyst. But I also want to do Lemurian quartz as a separate category, but I thought I would just bring one in already as a smoky representative. And I feel like in comparison to my other Lemurians, yeah, I feel like there is sort of a more like subdued calmer energy. Again, a bit of that grounding that's brought in, but it's still pretty high vibration. And this is a quite polished one, actually. Again, I kind of like it when they're a little rougher than that, but nonetheless, it's beautiful. Look at the clarity of that. Ooh, I'm excited for when I share the Lemurians. But anyway, meanwhile, this is a Smoky Quartz family. I don't pretend to have every single one that I have here. I'm sure there's a straggler out there somewhere. Could be in a pouch with a tarot deck or just tucked away and I just haven't thought of it. I know for a fact I have bigger specimens at my mom's house in the States. I've got one big point that I call Old Smoky because it just looks like a miniature mountain. And I've got two Smoky skeletal quartzes, which are crystals that are formed in unstable environments. So you don't get necessarily a very clean, crisp point and facets. It might be a little bit more irregular in its patterning, even though it's quartz, which has a pretty precise molecular structure. But it's just given where it is, if the earth is shifting, perhaps if it's watery. I think there's just different environmental aspects that can lend to this sort of skeletal or celestial formation, which is interesting. So anyways, I got a couple of those, and basically because I had ordered them from this California shop, and at the time they just were too heavy for me to be bringing back in my luggage. So I just ended up leaving them there because I figure I'm visiting frequently enough that I can work with them on site. So I plan to just leave them there. Okay, though, now for the purpose of this whole thing, I think I am going to add a bit more ring light, if I may. Turn it down a bit, but just to have a little extra there. As you can see, I have crystal decks here. I also, next to me, have a stack of crystal books, and maybe this is something better shared in a separate video. The books that I tend to look to, these are my go-tos, and I have certainly owned more crystal books than this, but this is basically what it's gotten whittled down to. I won't go in depth here, but just as a quick preview of all of them, and again, this is something I can get into more in another video, but this is my automatic go-to, The Crystal Healer by Philip Permut, or Permute. I don't know exactly how that is pronounced, but this is just such an easy guide to grab. It's not your most comprehensive crystal resource, but like it captures pretty much some of the major ones, at least that I've owned. I feel like I've been able to find everything in here. And oh, I use that word owned again. I don't own my crystals. I think they tolerate me. They let me room with them. But anyway, this book is organized by color of the actual stone, even though some of these can be in different variations, and it will be listed as such if that's the case. But what I'm looking to is brown for our Smoky Quartz, and I will read to you what he has to say. This is what makes this such a great, like, at a glance guide for the stone. Brown or black variety of quartz colored by natural radiation from the earth. This process can be duplicated in laboratories quite effectively. A lot of Smoky Quartz is man-made. So you get common alternative names, Smoky Quartz with an E, Carnarvon that I've not heard of before. Common sources, Brazil, Madagascar, and USA. The astrological associations are Sagittarius and Capricorn, and the chakra association is the base or the root chakra. So healing qualities, good for vitality, intuition, survival instincts, male energies, and mental activity. Offers protection by dissipating negativity, useful during ceremonies. Helpful if you habitually spend too much money. Helps you to move forward in life. So now we have physical healing uses. It's good for physical expression and sexual energy. Good for the legs, knees, ankles, hands, and feet. Helps stammering. Emotional and spiritual healing qualities then are are that it is good for grounding, relaxation, sedation, meditation, and dream interpretation. Channels energy through the hands, for example, in Reiki or spiritual healing. Helps with negativity, anger, depression, despair, and grief. Speeds up the laws of karma. Yes, I often see smoky quartz brought up in relation to grief. I find in combination with obsidian, and amethyst and rose quartz, you can put together a loving little grief bundle for yourself to help dissipate those negative energies, kind of transmute it into the lighter and more positive, and just the comforting and healing. But anyway, so that's from the Crystal Healer. So that's our little snapshot of smoky quartz as described from this book. I've also told you my thoughts on it. Another go-to that I've got here, though, is the Crystal Bible by Judy Hall. So, of course, this also has an entry a bit more extensive than what we just read about the smoky quartz. The Crystal Code is a pretty good one. You get kind of, might get a page or two. This also gets into how to use crystals and cleanse them and so forth. But yeah, usually you get like a page like this. So here's that rutilated quartz I was telling you about. If you can see a bit better, the gold rutil inside there. Not to be confused with tourmalinated quartz, which is black. There we go. So here's our smoky quartz. Said to relieve chronic pain, enhance well-being, reduce inflammation, alleviate the effects of radiation therapies, and exposure to electromagnetic pollution. This says it can be used for the crown as well as the base. Sourced in Australia, Brazil, Madagascar, Switzerland, and USA. So every book you see, you're probably going to see like maybe a little something different. But among all this, use smoky quartz's detoxing effect to purify any electromagnetic stress. Keep it by your phone, laptop, or electrical equipment to absorb and protect you from unwanted radiation. So there's a practical little tip. Just kind of take a piece and set it by your devices. Maybe this is part of what makes it so beautiful to me as well as a stone. Smoky quartz will help you realize that challenges are transformative opportunities. The universe isn't against you. It's just nudging you to start doing things differently. Anyways, if I really want to deep dive into a crystal, the Book of Stones, who they are and what they teach. And I love that. And this who relates to the reading that I'm going to be doing shortly, but this is Robert Simmons and Naisha Asian, and this is quite comprehensive. Of course, it also has an entry on smoky quartz, which I will not read for our purposes today, but you can see how extensive it can get, and you do hear something from both of the authors coming at it from their own research and perspectives. So, oh, there we go. There's a double terminated point as an example. So as far as like references for learning about stone qualities, those 4 books are great. And then as far as using crystals, applying them in some sort of way, I find crystal grids to be helpful for intention setting. They really help me articulate an intention and just gives a more formal, ritualized means of projecting it out into the universe and just revisiting it and always staying conscious of it to try to align your actions to achieving that goal. And so a book I had gotten on that, very quick read by Hibiscus Moon, Crystal Grids, How and Why They Work. And so this gets into the science behind it, the sacred geometry of the universe that it can mirror as a microcosm for the macrocosm. The one thing that is kind of dubious in here is, if I recall, Wikipedia is given in the references. And so, I mean, Wikipedia, I use it all the time, but I mean, I wouldn't use it for like formal research purposes. You kind of have to vet your sources a bit more than that. So that's the one thing that's like, well, so, question the science of this as you will and the sources that were used for it. But I think it's amazing. It was very informational, learning about the sacred geometry of the universe. And I feel like there is a connection there. But Crystal Muse is a favorite for crystal rituals. If you want to learn how to incorporate crystals into your daily life, if you are setting goals, if you're working on healing, I think it gives a snippet on each crystal as well, so you can get an idea of what healing they can offer, what their properties are. Like here is an at a glance sheet of some of the most common ones. You can see some keywords straight away, but this is just like across the board, the sorts of things you could do. Oh, here's a 40-day love ritual. It's a bunch focused on love. Soak in the love ritual, a baby bonding ritual. Oh, that's sweet. It could be like space clearing. It could be cutting ties with the energy vampires in our lives. I don't know. There's a lot of different goals you might have that are probably addressed in this book somehow. So this is just fantastic. I've had so much fun doing these rituals, and some of them can be brief, some of them can be over quite a significant amount of time. And I think it's just that practice of revisiting something day after day after day. That alone just gets you introspective and focusing and really like honing in on what your goal is. I learned a lot about my shadow doing a ritual that was in here. And so I just can't recommend this highly enough. But anyways, okay, I went on about the books longer than I was expecting to, but I felt like I'd be remiss to not mention them doing this crystal video. I won't do it every time though. But my crystal related decks. This is the Crystal Skull Tarot by Jessie Driscoll, and the guidebook is by Rachel Pollack. So this deck cracks me up. It's adorable. If you haven't seen it before, it's like the backs are a doily of all the cards. It's basically crystal skulls and other crystals and crafty items set up to recreate the scenes of the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot. And it is just so darn cute. Look at that, 10 of Wands. Here's the skull carrying the 10 Wands on its non-existent back. 6 of Cups, we've got like a bigger skull looking down to the smaller skull with the little flowers in between. 10 of Swords. Ooh, I love it with the quartz points jabbing into this skull. It's adorable. So that's the one tarot deck that I have that is crystal related. The very first crystal oracle deck and just crystal deck in general that I ever acquired was long time ago. Found this in a crystal shop somewhere, some little village out in the country over here. But Messages from Mother Earth by Jacqueline Winters. And these are pretty straightforward. There's information on how to use the cards. There's chakras, there's spreads. Here's the author, and then here's the illustrator. So the illustrations are meant to evoke the energy of the crystal so that even if you don't have the actual physical crystal on hand, you can still engage with its frequency and healing energy through the art. So just flipping through, you can see how it just kind of expands on the central crystal itself, just radiating a certain kind of energy. So yeah, it's neat. Obviously, I went through this already, picked Smoky Quartz. It says, eliminate fears and your energy field clears. This is a nice little rhyme. Absorbs excess energy from the body, thereby alleviating pain, swelling, inflammation, anxiety, and fears in general. An excellent stone for protection as it instills a sense of solidarity, safety, and love. Smoky quartz will remove obstacles that may be inhibiting growth toward a lighter, brighter future for all. So you get a little blurb like that, with each card, which makes a guidebook unnecessary. And of course, if you have already done your own crystal healing research, or you have any books like I've shown on hand, you can always take that deeper as to what you're supposed to take away from the stone in question for your reading. Most recently, I got the Crystal Oracle. So I purchased this towards the end of last year. I have only used it once, and it's already been pretty incredible. I have the Seashell Oracle by this same creator. Let's see, artwork by Bethany Van Rieswick, words by Alan Freeman. But the Seashell Oracle, oh, it's absolutely divine. I love it so much. So I wanted this as well as another gift from the earth that we have to work with and learn from. So here are the backs of these. And here's this like lovely, oh, meteorite. That's neat. But very vintage style artwork collaged in with the crystals, and you get 3 keywords to already give you a jumping off point for your work. I just went to Cornwall last weekend, and we drove past Stonehenge past dusk, and it was just wild to see it in that dim, dark light. Like you could just barely make it out, probably for another minute or two. Would you be able to discern it in the darkness? And it just looked so quiet and still, other than the very busy highway that goes right by it, which is a crying shame, but I guess is what it is. But it was nice to at least see the stones themselves seemed very stoic and at peace in the darkening light. And the first time we drove by it on the way out, it was totally dark, so you couldn't see anything. So I was glad to know they don't do anything cheesy like try to illuminate it with electric light or anything, so you can still see it from the road. But anyway, what I actually want to show you today then is a little crystal conversation practice I have started. I have by no means gone through my whole collection, which is why you are participating with me in an actual getting to know you session with one of my crystals for the first time, having this conversation with this crystal. And of my Smokies, the one that I would like to focus on is this little nubby grubby one. My latest acquisition from Chamonix. We've been hanging out. I've just been spending some time with it, just keeping it near me. I might hold it as I'm reading a book. I might just have it sitting next to me, even if I'm watching TV, just kind of getting ourselves vibing with each other. And, true to Smoky Quartz, of course, what I do feel is just like a grounding calm when I work with it. But what I want to know more specifically is who this crystal is. What I can learn from it, and if it has advice for me right now. So in order to answer those questions, I have separated out the court cards from the rest. So the court cards are in answer to who this crystal is. So let me just take a moment to kind of meditate my way into this reading. So who is this crystal? This will give me an indication of its characteristics. If you could say that a crystal has a personality, then a court card is a helpful way to determine what that personality is like. Give me a sense of its energy. And what it's like to interact with. So once I look at that, I would like to know basically how it can best help me, you know, like why would I go to this crystal versus another if I have a certain intention in mind? Maybe I don't even. Maybe this crystal can just tell me now what it can help me with. Maybe assistance that I need that I'm not even aware of. And finally, what advice does it have for me right now already? Okay. So, as strange as the question may sound, I am indeed asking, who is this crystal? Knight of Wands. How can they specifically help me? Five of Pentacles. And advice for right now. Ten of Swords. Isn't this deck so cute? So this is really interesting to see a fiery card for who this crystal is when I've been describing smoky quartz as first and foremost grounding. But this indicates to me that this quartz does have a bit of spark to it. This is not a passive grounding stone that I just sit with. I think it gives me the grounding that I need to get up again and go. So I would say it has a very active personality. It wants to help me transmute the negative feelings and energies that I need to in order to get the motivation I need to get going and do and accomplish. So that's lovely. I imagine it's quite a charismatic little fellow as well. A truck outside agrees with me. Or should I say, allore, if you heard that honking. So as far as how it can help me, Five of Pentacles, I think this is basically what I just said. If I am feeling this kind of low energy, if I am feeling lack and loss, that's the energy that it is helping me to transmute, to get more vibrant and active and moving forward from this stage. So I like that. I feel like if I sit with this, maybe it will help energize me, activate my motivation, help me see the way through what seems to be an obstacle, a struggle at the time, and just kind of give me that extra verve that I need to get going. And so the advice right now, I think generally what plagues me, while the Five of Pentacles can be in that physical realm, I mean, this can also be interpreted figuratively in other ways too, any sense of like poverty and lack that we might feel. And I feel this is pointing me right now that it's mainly like in that mental space. It's not an actual situation of deprivation, but it might just be a depletion that I have mentally. And I could certainly attest, yes, that is the case. Actually, because I am physically depleted. You know, I'm a woman of a certain age and things are changing and I can just get absolutely spent. And it comes at a great cost to my mental well-being. There is a lot of brain fog involved, and it can just get really hard to get motivated and get clear on what needs to get done. And that's totally what I've been struggling through the last few days. I've been kind of trying to clear out that fog. And look, we can see this skull here is resting on what appears to be a smoky quartz. And I would actually like to verify that by going to the guidebook and seeing what Rachel Pollack had to say about that. This scene took me a moment to figure out. The skull first made me think of a snail with a large expressive face and a shiny shell. But then I read Jesse's description and realized that the skull is actually face down. Wait, what? Oh, it is! Oh my gosh! I thought it just had like really deep set eyes and this was the nose and mouth. It is upside down. So just grabbing my nearest skull, it's like this. Thank you for clarifying that for me, Rachel. This suggests the well-known writer Ten of Swords, sometimes called the man with the 10 swords stuck in his back. If you wanted to feature a tarot card reader in a murder mystery, you would have to include the 10 of Swords with the devil on the side to leave no doubt of the message. Except, it only takes one sword to kill someone. If swords are the mind, 10 of them can represent exaggerated fears, overreactions, extreme negativity. The point here is very clear because all we see is the skull, face down on a long smoky quartz table. So it is smoky quartz. Most of the crystals are aimed at the back of the head, the part of the brain ruled by emotion and fear. But maybe the skull, a black and white zebra jasper, knows what it's doing. Smoky quartz absorbs negativity. Jasper is a grounding stone. It can help pull our scattered energies together so we can focus our attention. In some areas, tribal priests wear zebra jasper amulets to transmute negative energies into a higher frequency. So that got into the zebra or the zebra jasper. But we do have the shout out to the smoky quartz as well, which is just wonderful. Doesn't this almost look like this? Like, it's telling me it's going to give me a place to lay my head down to get clear so that, again, I can rise from this situation and get up again and go. So there's just the quick example of how I would initiate a conversation with a crystal. This is the initial meet and greet session. And now any given time, I might have more follow-up questions. Maybe I need more clarity on something, or maybe I just want to ask something else of it. You know, whatever this might trigger in my mind, I'll keep throwing cards and asking questions as necessary. It might depend on how chatty the crystal itself is. But for today's purposes, I just wanted a little getting to know you session, and I feel really satisfied with this. And so now, because I have come to collect so many crystals, just like I've collected so many decks, and we've talked so much in this community about deck overwhelm. Well, there's absolutely crystal overwhelm in the same way. And I have decluttered crystals just as I've decluttered decks. I have rehomed them. I have done things like this to just kind of categorize them and get clear on, is there a function that they're actually serving? And yes, it is enough for me if they just look pretty or if I enjoy just holding them and having that tactile experience with them as well as the visual. That's certainly enough for me, but I can tell when it can feel superfluous or not. But in a case like this is a crystal like I want to hold and have like on the go. I want to use it in some sort of healing, productive, practical way. And now this has just told me how I can do that, what the situations are, when it will serve me best. And this advice is showing me that it can serve me right now. Right now I have a need. So for the rest of today, you betcha my little buddy's going to be hanging out with me. I'm going to keep it close and keep getting to know it. And whether that will be through more cards pulled at some point, perhaps. But for right now, I think it's just great to hang out and keep vibing with it. And now with a clearer focus in mind of what it is helping me to do. And so anyways, this was lovely. And I love that it like reinforced a lot of this crystal's properties, adding an extra insight though with this fire element for a very grounding stone otherwise. So this is fun for me. So I don't know about you, but like, I hope you got something out of this. And if you enjoyed it, I do plan on doing more with other categories of my crystals. So this was my Smoky family, at least a representation of it. And I hope you've enjoyed this little informal gathering with them all. And if you are also into crystals, whether you're a collector, whether you use them for healing, maybe you're a professional crystal healer, maybe you are a Reiki practitioner, I would be fascinated to hear anything and everything you use the crystals for. If you have any additional guidance, if there's anything you saw in these cards that you would like to share as an added message for me in getting to know this little guy here, I would appreciate that as well. So please do share your knowledge and expertise and just crystal fancies with me in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.